King Dhritarashtra is a central character in the Indian epic Mahabharata. Born blind, he was the son of Vyasa and Ambika, the first wife of King Vichitravirya. His story is deeply intertwined with themes of power, loyalty, love, and tragic flaws, which ultimately lead to the devastating Kurukshetra war and his own downfall. Here's an in-depth look at his life, both the good and the bad, and his eventual death. Early life and personality. Dhritarashtra was born to the Kuru dynasty, but faced challenges from birth due to his blindness. His mother, Ambika, was startled by Vyasa's appearance and closed her eyes, resulting in Dhritarashtra's blindness. Although he was the eldest son, his blindness made him ineligible for the throne, which was instead given to his younger brother Pandu. Dhritarashtra was trained in various arts of governance and warfare, but his physical disability kept him from direct participation in military activities. Despite his disability, Dhritarashtra was a strong and formidable figure. He was physically powerful and had immense strength, but his blindness often became symbolic of his inability to see the truth or justice in the matters involving his sons and nephews. His rule and loyalty. When Pandu renounced the throne and went into exile, Dhritarashtra was made the acting king. He married Gandhari, a princess from Gandhara, who voluntarily blindfolded herself for life in solidarity with her husband. They had 100 sons, the Kauravas, with Duryodhana being the eldest, and one daughter named Dusala. Dhritarashtra's rule was largely influenced by his loyalty and love for his children, especially Duryodhana. His failure to rein in Duryodhana's excessive ambition and lack of control over his actions became major flaws. Dhritarashtra's blind affection for his sons often caused him to turn a blind eye to their wrongdoings, and this weakness ultimately led to disastrous consequences. The good side of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra had several admirable qualities. He was a patient and compassionate ruler, often trying to maintain peace and harmony within the kingdom. Despite his favoritism toward his own sons, he cared deeply for the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, especially during their youth. He treated them as his own children and allowed them a fair share of privileges and rights within the palace. Dhritarashtra's compassionate nature is further evidenced when he initially hesitates to give in to Duryodhana's demands to exile the Pandavas or subject them to the infamous dice game. However, he was repeatedly overpowered by Duryodhana's manipulations and his attachment to his sons. The bad side of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra's love for Duryodhana led him down a morally compromising path. He often ignored his son's unethical actions and even supported him against the Pandavas, whose rightful inheritance he knew. When Duryodhana suggested the dice game, where the Pandavas were unfairly defeated and humiliated, Dhritarashtra reluctantly allowed it. The infamous disrobing of Draupadi took place under his watch, a shameful act that Dhritarashtra could have prevented but didn't. Time and again, Dhritarashtra allowed his own insecurities and attachment to cloud his judgment, resulting in decisions that emboldened Duryodhana. Even when Krishna, the divine mediator, came to plead for peace and offered Dhritarashtra a chance to avoid the war, he was unable to overrule his son's obstinacy. Dhritarashtra's role in the Kurukshetra war. When the war became inevitable, Dhritarashtra did not stop Duryodhana and eventually sanctioned the Kaurava army's preparations. His inner conflict was palpable throughout the war, as he wanted victory for his sons, but dreaded the consequences of the conflict. He knew that his son's cause was unjust, but felt powerless to change the course of events. His loyal charioteer, Sanjaya, narrated the events of the battle to him daily, and Dhritarashtra experienced intense emotional turmoil as he heard about the loss of his sons and warriors. By the war's end, Dhritarashtra lost all 100 of his sons, leaving him shattered and broken. His grief was immense, yet he had to reconcile with the fact that his own failings as a father and king had led to this tragic end. Dhritarashtra's death. After the war, Dhritarashtra abdicated his throne and retreated to the forest with his wife Gandhari, Kunti, mother of the Pandavas, and Vidura, his half-brother. They lived a life of renunciation and penance. Eventually, he was able to let go of his bitterness and come to terms with his own mistakes and the pain he had caused others. Dhritarashtra met his end in a forest fire while meditating in the Himalayas. He, along with Gandhari and Kunti, perished in the fire, as narrated in the Mahaprasthanika Parva of the Mahabharata. This forest fire symbolized the purging of their past sins, allowing them a chance at spiritual liberation. Legacy. Dhritarashtra's story is often interpreted as a cautionary tale of how unchecked attachment and inability to face the truth can lead to ruin. Despite his admirable qualities, his moral weakness in the face of his love for his sons had devastating consequences, not just for himself, but for the entire Kuru dynasty. Dhritarashtra remains a complex figure, a well-meaning but ultimately flawed character whose inner blindness mirrored his physical blindness, leading to tragic results for his family and kingdom.